Meeting now.
Okay, it's Thursday, October 19th, 9:03 a.m. And called order for City of Manistee Housing Commission. Roll call.
Commissioner Taylor is absent. Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner Goodman?
Here.
President Fosdick?
Here. And Commissioner Pelton is in on Zoom.
So he said Ginny Pelton is here on Zoom,
Jenny is on Zoom.
Oh, okay, I didn't hear it.
on Teams,
Yeah.
actually.
Okay.
And Jeannie can obviously participate and share her opinion, but when it comes to voting, since she's not in person, unfortunately, she can't vote.
Correct.
Did you hear that, Ginny?
I can't vote, right? Right.
Right. Okay, amendments to the agenda.
We have none.
Public comments on agenda-related items. And the consent agenda, approval of minutes, regular meeting minutes of September 21st, and bills and disbursements, September 2023.
Make the motion that we approve the regular meeting minutes of September 21st, 2023. Do you want both of them together?
Yeah.
Second.
Yeah.
Bills and disbursements of September 2023. And then,
Second.
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Old business, proposals for renovation of 343 10th Street.
Yes, so I was able to receive 3 proposals. I did reach out to a Dom check too, but I received an email back saying that at this time, they were not interested in quoting this, but in the future that they might be, looking at other work that we have. But we did receive proposals back from Rusty Mankey, Logan Griffiths, and Kit Potter from West Shore Construction. And they're all pretty close in totals. Rusty is $53,000, Griffiths Construction is $51,810, and West Coast Construction is $53,50. And the estimated begin dates, Rusty could begin in 3 weeks. Griffiths Construction would be able to begin November 27th, and then West Coast Construction would be able to begin either December or January. So my recommendation would be to go with AQC, Rusty Mankey, because he can begin the work in 3 weeks, and I'd like to get the roofing and windows done as soon as possible before it gets any colder.
Now, we also talked with the, when we did the tour of a couple of the scattered sites, you and I and Kevin and the architect. He talked about using 1-inch foam underneath the vinyl.
Yeah, I did discuss that, and he said he would wrap it, but if we were to do that, it would add an additional cost, and you would have to build out like the wind, like, because you'd have to build out more. So he said it's going to add quite additional cost, and he doesn't think it's worth that. He said it's going to be fine with the way he plans to wrap it, that he does not recommend the insulation.
Do we have adequate insulation in the walls now? Is that our assumption?
I think that's our assumption.
Okay.
But we can confirm that too.
Because 1 inch of foam really doesn't add a lot of insulation. I think it's an R3 value or something like that.
Is this a regular site-built home or a modular home?
It's a modular.
Yeah.
This is
The one on 10th Street.
10th Street, which I think our analysis was it's worth the investment.
Yeah.
Now,
The architect felt that too,
Yeah.
when Steve and I were there with the architect. And it's in a very nice neighborhood.
So I think this discussion's going to come up at our work session too, you know, where is that line drawn in the sand that we continue rehabbing some and not some other ones? And we've got some thoughts about that too, but.
Yeah, those homes down there, you know, they're not pristine, but I think they're worth primping, you know, bringing them up. I don't think they need work, but I think they're worth the investment. You're right, it's a fairly good neighborhood. You know, we need to bring them up to the standards of the neighborhood.
So you guys have to decide if you would like me to add on to install shingles and siding on the 2 sheds, each unit, because it's a duplex. I do already have the 1 unit assigned. We're hoping to have that. So Rusty would actually be doing the 343.5, but he would be putting the shingles, the siding, and the windows in the whole house. But then the City of Manistee Housing Commission maintenance staff is prepping the first side and putting in new cabinets. I am working on my 3rd proposal on flooring. So before the house is completely finished, we will have additional costs for cabinets and for flooring. And then we did find out that I also have to call a plumber because some of the copper pipes did freeze and split open. So I'm trying to get a hold of a plumber right now to see what that additional cost would be, but that would be the other. So we still have flooring, cabinets, and then the plumbing, and then what you see on here.
And
It's in addition to what's already bid.
Yes.
yes, and
And this, my question would have been on the plumbing and electrical. Are we doing anything with the heating and cooling?
That should be fine. We were able to get the electric because the meters were gone too, because it has not been occupied in 3 years. So we had to have consumers come put new meters on. We had to have DTE come put the gas back on. So we do have heat and electric in the units now. Yeah, we did get the mold remediated in the half side. So they have to come back now that we have electric and do a little bit of vacuuming on the boards. But yeah, we're getting there. So
Now that's hot water heat, right?
that they're furnaces.
There.
Yeah. And I will say too, Jim, that the electrical system is modern. Wiring is modern. We had that evaluated, so that doesn't need to be addressed. Now, I will say this too. The deferred maintenance is why the cost is so much. I mean, it's been sitting. Now, I think that's a fair amount of work for the price. You know, 5 years ago, that probably would have been half that number. So we're caught up in today's reality of construction costs and material costs. So, and the reality is, I don't think it's going to get any less expensive as we move on.
Now, when you talk about the pipes bursting, are we talking about 1, 2 places? The whole copper line system has to be replaced?
I can get back to you on that once the plumber comes. Kevin and Al did an air test and said that,
Then they should know that.
right, so he said that either they could do the work or I could call a plumber, and I said, you guys are gonna be busy enough getting these cabinets and getting this unit painted. I need you to focus on that. Let me have a plumber come in and repair this. So I can get back to you on that, Steve.
Okay, because I thought if we were gonna, because plumbers notoriously in this town are hard to get. And when they do say they're gonna be there, maybe 3 weeks later, they'll show up. So be careful about a plumber.
Okay. I'll
Any
heed that
tradespeople in
warning.
this town.
you'll see a lot of people from northern part of like Frankfurt and Traverse City. They'll come down too. If our local plumbers aren't available and can't give you a bid, then I would keep calling north. Or
Okay.
there's a couple down in Ludington too.
Okay. And then how do you guys feel about the sheds? Would you like those as long as he's doing the the siding and roof on the house, do you want him to include the shed? So it would be an extra $1,250 per shed in addition to the $53,000.
So he's gonna side the sheds
And roof them.
And roof them, and
And repair any dilapidated boards that he runs into.
what about the doors?
We did not, no, he did not include anything on the doors.
Yeah, if he doesn't paint them, we'll paint them. Our staff will paint those.
Yeah,
Okay.
those, every,
Can I talk?
Sure.
So, I've been pricing sheds, and to repair those sheds, bring them up for $1,250 is cheap, and to make it look good for the neighborhood, I would support that. I'm also concerned about the level of work for our staff, because we have so much going on, especially with Lori, all the work you have with some of these evictions and move-outs, keeping those apartments going. Do you really want the staff in that and doing that work, or do we need to think about that as an outside bid also?
Yeah, that's a great statement, Jenny, because the guys have been trying to get in there, and they did remove the old cabinets. They did take them to the city dump. So we have disposed of those now. And Kevin does have some vacation time coming up in November, so I asked him, I said, are you sure we're going to be able to get this ready by December 1st is what I am hoping that we can release it on. So, yeah, that is something that we could try and find. If there's somebody locally available that'd be willing to help us do that, I could try and get some more proposals. A painter. I mean, there's a lot of drywall repair and painting that needs done. Steve's been in the unit, he knows. Jim Taylor, were you in, or Jim Smith, were you in that one? The one on, did you go with us when we went to 10th Street?
I thought,
Yeah, Jim was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
So there's a lot of painting, drywall work. We're going to replace all the doors, the closet doors, the other doors. There's a lot of painting and repairs that do need done. So Kevin
It's really
thinks they can
good.
get to it, but I agree with you if we're not getting it done soon. If you guys are interested, I can certainly try and find a contractor to help us out with that one too.
we
Well-
can see if it's,
Can Rusty flip over
Yeah.
to the
Well,
outside?
that's exactly right. We could do a change order with him. If he's there working already, it might be more cost. There might be a
Yeah.
benefit as far as,
I
His
just
first
think
priority will be the roof.
yes, yeah.
With what we're gonna have going on 12th Street with a move out and some of your other move outs, and we wanna get those, Lori, you've been working so hard to get those people, out, and I'd love to see those units get turned fast. I don't see how these guys, two guys can get all this stuff done.
So yeah, I mean, the units are pretty much identical. So like, we could use these, the line item amounts, and I could have Rusty provide me a quote for that one too. Yeah, I love that idea, Jenny.
The biggest problem, though, is that one half of that 10th Street duplex is already rented. And she's being forced out by her old landlord, to the point where she might have to, right now, stay at a hotel in the area until this unit's done. So if we can't have it done by the 1st of December, it's gonna be a bigger hardship on her also.
so I'd say that we accept Rusty Mankey's bid up to $56,000, which will include the 2 sheds. It gives you a little breathing room.
second.
All in favor?
All right.
Motion carried.
And I would encourage that as you go through the process to talk with Rusty about the possibility of a change order to include the other half. Thank you. New project. Good, glad
Oh.
to see it finally coming down.
Right. New business, recommendation to hire temporary assistant Carla Hum. Whom? Hum or whom? Hum.
It is hum, yes.
I will make the recommendation to hire our temporary assistant, Carla Hum.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Good.
We'll see how you feel in 30 days.
Aye.
I've worked for both of them for a really long time, so I know I can handle it.
So now we got a dream team.
Okay.
Carla's also in real estate too, so she understands.
Awesome. Excellent.
Proposal for purchase of a compact tractor.
So before you are two prices. One's for Kubota and one's kind of, I guess you could say either one's equivalent to each other. They're not apples to apples, just so you know. There's a couple horsepower difference. So it's really an orange tractor versus a green tractor. So prices are about the same. I think the recommendation from the maintenance staff is for the John Deere. I think there's some good reasons. I know Steve asked the question, do we need it? We can buy a mower deck for either one. So we have a zero turn that's 5 or 7 years old that once that goes, we don't need to replace it. We can use this compact tractor and purchase a mower deck. It can be used at all of our sites. We currently have one, but it's a 25 or 30 years old tractor. So this is kind of.
That's the one that has the snow blower on it now?
I don't think it has a snow blower, Steve. I think we were.
It has a bucket.
It has a bucket.
They use it for the garbage.
Yeah, to haul the garbage back and forth.
Now, is this bucket on this new compact tractor, is it a bucket or is it just kind of, well, it looks like a bucket?
No, it's a bucket. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's gonna be big enough to use for garbage
Yes.
and stuff?
Yep. Yep. So it's one of these deferred maintenance items too, and I think we would try to sell the old one for whatever we can dispose of it for.
Okay, and they're going to do all the snow removal,
All the new sidewalks.
parking lots?
Yep.
All of it?
Yep.
At Trinity Terrace and Harbor.
And scattered sites.
Good.
Yeah, yeah,
All
so
right.
it'll be over
And the-
there.
And the mowing?
Yes.
Excellent.
Okay.
Now, with snow removal, I would guess that your priority would be Century Terrace and Harborview. And then they move over to the scattered sites?
That's the way it should be. I don't know, Steve. We haven't been here through a snow plowing season, but typically the seniors where the buses need to come in for transport, we hit that first. So that should be the first on our plowing schedule.
And currently, we do not plow the scattered sites, but that is going to be a new addition.
Okay, good.
Just like this lawn mowing.
Good.
We have a truck with a plow too?
Two trucks.
Yes, we have one V plow and one regular plow.
All right. Makes more sense there.
So, I mean, do you guys agree that even though currently, unless you have a reasonable accommodation stating that you need help plowing your driveway, we do not plow the scattered sites. But I believe we're proposing that we do 100% of the scattered sites, Mark? Is that what you're proposing?
Well, I know that we haven't, like, spring and summer, we don't cut the grass or haven't cut the grass. And the grass at most of those sites are.
And
I
we
mean,
contracted.
The lawns are awful.
Yeah.
And
We
no
contracted
landscaping.
with that
This year we
last year,
did, so
yeah.
we'll get rid of that.
Yeah.
And then the plowing, I think, is appropriate to do. And, I mean, we won't shovel, but we will plow out the space.
We would plow out the approaches
Okay.
to the drive. We wouldn't get into the driveway where the cars are, but, you know, when the snow plow goes through and piles it up, and it's hard I mean, there could be a pile of snow that big, so if we could come behind them and get that out.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
I think it's appropriate.
Now, I wouldn't be too hasty about getting rid of the contracted mowing, because I think the amount of time it could take our staff, we'll have to see what their
Yeah,
work schedule
yeah.
is. If they're sitting around the office drinking coffee, yeah, they should be mowing, but if they're busy. You know, because I think.
Did you just
had,
mean
what,
because winter's
$400?
coming, that's why we won't be doing it? Or did you mean not to do it in the spring and summer?
In the lawn mowing and stuff, I think you'll have to evaluate. We don't have lawns, we have weeds, so
Yeah,
you know,
right.
we're cutting weeds.
Right.
You know, so you'll have to evaluate that in the spring,
Yeah.
Right.
Steve's saying.
Okay, do we have a motion then?
I make a motion that we purchase the John Deere at $22,826.05.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Financial reports.
All right, so we have on, or joining us today is Shay Allen from BDO to go over the Century Terrace Harbor View financial statements. And Shay, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
You can. So I'm going to let you take it away. I don't know if you have something you want to screen share, but the commission here has the, which financial reports do we have from you?
There should be a comparable balance sheet, an income statement, trend analysis, and a 12-month statement.
Yes, that's exactly what we have. So do you want to just, and you have it in front of you, and they do as well, do you want to point out any particular things? And I would encourage the commission to ask Shay any questions. And this is the only Century Terrace in Harbor View, and this is the RAD tax credit information only, not public housing.
So I imagine that PY ending is previous year? Is that what that means? If you're heading?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, so that is the balances as of December 2022. I don't have anything to point out too much, but just that on the income statement, we separated out the operating and the non-operating activity just to show that with the operating only, there's income. But once you add in the non-operating activity, there is a loss. And that's mainly due to the construction loan interest and depreciation.
Okay. So Shay, can you summarize, can you give the commission a summary, your analysis of where we are? And this is for September 30th.
Basically what I'm seeing is that due to raising some rents and also getting some of those units filled, we've been able to increase the tenant rents significantly, and there will be more money coming in from the, Lori, correct me if I'm wrong, the OCAF?
Yes, a retro back to February 1st.
So,
Right.
so let's just tell the commission what OCF is. It's the,
So it's the operating cost adjustment factor, and we will be requesting another one February 1st of 2024, which we should be working on soon, so we don't have to worry about trying to play catch-up next year. But we are required to do that every year, and we're anticipating $40,000 more in HAP payments a month, retroed back to February 1st.
so that's the difference. So on this, the project-based rental assistance, so the tenants still pay 30% of their income in rent, just like they did under the public housing platform. We're guaranteed a rent of, I'm not sure what our rents, what are.
Right, it's like 707 approximately.
So the difference between the 30% and the 707 is that HAP payment that comes to the commission. So that goes up, that by an adjustment every year. We just didn't ask for it the previous year, so they're going to retroactive that back. So that's going to increase. Doesn't affect tenants' rents at all. It just reflects, or just increases our revenue side. And Shay, would you talk about the DCR, the debt coverage ratio too, and the significance of that in this whole project?
I did not run any ratios.
Okay.
that on, as we're building this financial packet,
Okay.
I can run some ratios for
Okay.
the next meeting.
Okay, and I'll explain what that is in a second. So this statement is not, it includes construction costs, right?
Yes.
So once the project's closed out, then we can have really a true financial report of operating income and expenses without the construction side of it tied into this financial report. Is that a fair assessment, Shay?
Yes.
Then you'll,
Which is why we pulled out some of that operating so that we can see that that operating income, which is 107,000 as of September. But then once you add in that construction loan interest and the depreciation, it drops it down to a loss of 285,000. But that construction loan interest is 300,000 on its own.
yeah. So then that gets converted over to a permanent loan too, by the way. So there's still going to be.
There's still going to be some, but I don't know if it's going to be the amount, the 35,000+ a month.
Yeah.
So there is hope, right?
Yes.
So does anybody have any more questions for Shay? And Shay, do you have anything else to add? Anything you'd like to point out in these financial statements?
There's nothing else that I needed to point out.
Okay.
Shay, I did include the draw, the construction draw that you forwarded me.
Yes.
The commissioners may have a couple questions on that before you go. Did the board get a chance to look at that? The construction draw, it's actually down on, it's actually under C2. I just put it in there for your review. But if you go to that, it's under C2, the draw memorandum dated October 4th. It's the Commonwealth Company. Steve, I know, was interested in seeing some things on what's going on with all the construction. So I did include that for your review. And if you have any questions on that, Shay could answer those. It's like 3/4 back in your packet there.
Yeah, my question wasn't on a draw, it was on the change orders. I want to see the change orders, who approved them.
Yeah. And that Shay wouldn't be able to answer that
Right.
question. So, okay.
But at least with the draw, it does show some of the totals and stuff from the beginning to now. All right, I think, do you guys have any other questions for Shay then?
I don't.
We appreciate you coming on, Shay. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's in 2 or 3 time zone difference. So, okay, well, if there's no more questions on that, then we have, the next financial reports are from Housing Authority accounting specialists who you authorized to re-engage for the public housing. And Karen probably will find this familiar. This used to be the financial reports in this format that the commission used to receive. I think they're fairly straightforward and fairly clear. Steve brought up a couple things. You know, there's some accounts receivable that's going back and forth from Century Terrace and Harborview and what we've billed previously, and that whole breakdown. And I think that's something that we'll talk about in a little bit about when we build our new budget, how we're going to spread those costs. We were charging that property more than they could pay, particularly with a high number of vacancies. So that needs to be adjusted, so we need to have that discussion when we do budget.
I see we have just one now account, and I'm guessing that's with West Shore Bank.
Yes, yes.
Weren't we going to spread
Yes.
that
Yes.
To different banks?
Yeah, we got one bite on, and they wanted some changes into the depository agreement. So that's a question I have to have with Jeff, is can we make those changes with HUD money? Because they want to just, they don't want to collateralize anything over 250,000. They just want to say, we're going to limit you to 250,000. So the HUD depository agreement says that you have to secure all funds. So some banks aren't willing to do that.
Yeah.
We found that Huntington Bank wouldn't do it for us in Big Rapids. So we had to pull our money out of their bank.
Okay, I just don't want y'all to forget about
Yep.
that.
Yep.
The other banks here on the south side of town is Honor Bank. It's one I think we use too. So,
Honor. I think this was the Shelby State Bank, the one that was concerned about the depository agreement. You know, Lake Osceola State Bank will do it. They're kind of they're, I think the closest branch, I'm not sure, would be Baldwin, maybe.
yeah, we have PNC here as well.
PNC.
PNC is a national bank, right?
Yeah. In Wellston?
Yeah,
Oh.
that's right, that's where that's at.
Well, I know for a fact that they will do it. In
Okay.
fact, they directly invested into our tax credit project in Big Rapids, yeah.
Well, that's
So,
cool.
Yeah, so I think they would be interested in some,
Might be a good partnership.
yeah.
Awesome.
So, you can see, this is public, now this is the public housing side of things, so this just represents the scattered sites. And I think it's pretty straightforward. This corresponds, these numbers, when you look at the left-hand column, the account numbers, that all corresponds with the submissions that we're required to send to HUD. We have to send this, we have to submit a financial data statement, unaudited and audited, and it's all in this format. So it kind of follows this. Now, some of this, and you might like to see this, and when we do a new budget, expand some of these accounts. So, you know, under administrative wages, you might like to see all the staff there and all their salaries instead of it one collective lump sum. We like to break down so we can have a real good analysis of where our expenses, not just, you know, contracts. You know, we'd break it down into plumbing, mechanical,
Yeah, I think.
plowing,
That's.
pest control, different things. So we're probably going to propose that when we start working on the budget for '24.
Now, I see the dwelling revenue is changing every month. Is that because of receivables, or is that because we've got an extra one to rent, or we're full, or whatever?
Yeah, Steve, that'll ebb and flow on occupancy, for sure.
Okay, because, yeah, I hate to see things that are, say, ledger adjustment. That seems pretty fond.
Yeah, so if you go through, and I think the revenue's gone up, right?
Well, in July, it was 1276. August, it was 12664. And in September, it was
September's.
11979.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that question, why it would have gone down.
Because I think we're pretty much running it up, aren't we, Lori, on the scattered sites?
We are just the 4 that are offline. But and we are doing a lot of rent reviews. There's a lot of rents that were not being calculated accordingly. So we are
Yeah, and Steve, so
getting
that
those straight.
part of the answer, Commission, to that question is tenants' rent changes because it's always 30%. So if somebody moved out, their rent could be $200. The old person could have been $600 a month. So that's why you would see that fluctuate. So at the end of the,
No, it shouldn't fluctuate because on a one-bedroom, it's like 707, what the tenant pays plus HUD.
nope, it's not the way this public housing works.
That's not how public housing operate. We work on operating subsidy
So-
annually.
Yep, so the difference is made up in an operating subsidy calculation once a year, based on previous data. Yep,
So I'll be bringing all that to you.
Yep.
To approve.
Okay.
yep. So it's a different platform.
Yeah.
It's the old platform.
So you really want to look bad, like you need a lot of money just before they grant it?
Yeah, well, they have some safeguards built in.
They take
for
it off the
that. So, yeah,
FDS
yeah,
statement.
Might have happened once or
Yeah,
twice.
so they have allowable expense levels and different things. It's a big calculation. So, but you hit on the main, the difference between the RAD program and the public housing program. So RAD is, it's not public housing. It's a HUD multifamily price, still under the HUD umbrella, but under the Section 8 umbrella. This is under the public housing umbrella. So we charge, in both programs, it's 30% of your income for rent. It's how our operating money is received. So in the RAD, it's based on the fair market rents, which is 707. We're given that difference between 30% of their income and the rents. Public housing is different. It's 30%. There's two funding pools. You get an operating subsidy because 30% does not cover our operating costs. So HUD has an operating subsidy program.
Now, is that operating subsidy paid monthly?
It is, but it's an annual calculation broke down into 12 payments that we go in and draw from the HUD system.
At well, it doesn't show it in
Yep.
here as far as,
Yep, 34, it's right under operating revenue. HUD grant revenue says operating subsidy, Steve.
oh, okay.
15,000 a month. So that's supposed to make us whole, 30%. So then the other pool of money that's allocated every year congressionally is the capital fund. So Congress argues about it and they agree on a number, then that gets divided up on a formula basis to all the housing commissions. So that's the other pot of money. And that's about 100,000, I think, right now.
Is that under other revenue?
Nope, that's not, you won't see that in there. You'll see that under capital fund grants.
It has its own.
It has its own attachment to that, Steve. So
Okay.
that's, in a nutshell, the basic difference between the two programs.
So in public housing, they don't have half payments?
Nope. No, it's operating subsidy.
Okay. I learned something.
Yep.
Any other questions on financials?
I know this is a long time in coming, but I think we're on the right track with the financial statements.
I agree. Do we need a motion to
Motion to
accept
accept the financials?
Yep.
I'll make the motion to accept the financial report.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, we've got 3 resolutions, 15, 16, and 17. The first one is utility allowances effective 1/1 of '24. Second one is flat rents effective 1/1 of '24. And then the third one is we'll do the third one on a standalone and by itself. It's the bylaw revisions. So let's do the utility allowances and flat rents.
I will make the motion that we accept resolution 2023-15 for resident utility allowance and excess utility charges.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
You do roll call for
Make a
resolution?
motion, we accept resolution 2023-16, flat rents effective 1/1/2024, PH.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that, but aren't we to roll call these?
Yeah, we should roll call those, so we should go back to utility allowances.
Okay?
So this is just for the public housing program. We need to make that clear. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, on resolution 15, Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Goodman,
Yes,
President Fosdick.
Yes.
all right. We accept
And on-
seconded 16.
Right?
Yep.
So roll call on
Roll
16?
call. Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Goodman,
Yes.
President Fosdick.
Yes. Then Resolution 2023-17, bylaws of the City of Manistee Housing Commission. We have made changes to them, right?
Yes, so I want to point out, maybe before we make the a motion, Jeff's here, and hopefully he'll have some thoughts, but on page 6, so we highlighted all the changes, and we did a strike through of what we proposed to remove. But on page 6, under financial operations, 2.6.3, second paragraph, it says the executive director shall report to the commission, and I should have highlighted monthly, quarterly, and annually. That was added in there. I did not, but I highlighted it on your copy just so you could see that. That's the only, it's not a change, but it's just a point of clarification on what we sent out in the agenda.
I think the changes we've made here are all of what we've discussed in prior meetings. I don't see anything, I have no questions.
I don't have any questions. I would make a motion that we accept Resolution 2023-17, bylaws of the City of Manistee Housing Commission.
I'll second that.
Roll call.
Commissioner Smith. Oh, Jeff.
I have a few questions.
Okay.
One of them's kind of minor, but it deals with and it's just to comply with the Housing Facilities Act, and it's appointment of a resident commissioner. And if we go to paragraph 1.7.1A.
What page is that on?
It's just how the Housing Facility Act states, but when it says the chief executive officer shall send written notice of a commission vacancy to each tenant. It's in the act that way, but it says with the wording is weird. It says shall be included with rent notice to each tenant. Now this act was in 1933, so I just want to make sure we're in compliance, because when a resident commissioner is vacant, I don't want somebody to say, well, it wasn't included in a rent notice. I know it's kind of being, very small, but I would add just rent notice so it complies with the act, because it does say shall under that section.
The only problem is we don't send out rent notices.
Yes, we have to update this.
So how do we, we could send a notice to the tenant, that's not a problem. We can send it to each of their doors, but they don't typically get a rent notice every month.
My copy doesn't say rent notice. It says CEO shall
Send a written notice.
of the commission vacancy to each tenant.
Yeah.
Each are you are.
It's on page 2, Karen.
Oh.
1.4.1, appointment of resident commissioner.
And I was just pointing out what the Housing
Yeah.
Facilities Act
Yeah.
states under section 125.654. It says the notice shall be included in the rent notice to each tenant. And if that were argued, I would think that we would still succeed. I just want to make sure everybody's aware. We're sending written notice, maybe back in 1933, each public housing authority would send out a written notice of rent each month. We don't do that anymore. I'm just letting you know that's what it is. I think how it's written, how we have it is fine. I don't think that, I just wanted to point that out, that there is that provision in the Housing Facilities Act. The other thing that I want to make sure was under president duties, under section 2.3.
Where's he at?
2.3, page 4.
The president, with approval and authorization of the commission, shall sign all contracts, deeds, and other instruments made by the commission. So, I know we have our procurement policy, which authorizes the executive director to sign contracts under a certain dollar amount. Is this going to supersede that now, or should we put in with the exception of the procurement policy? Because how this is it's written, every single contract would require Steve Fosdick to sign. And is that the intention of what we want to do?
No.
No, and I think the intent is it's the major issues, like if we're gonna enter into some, RAD contracts or property purchases, or, I'm using that as an example.
So maybe use the language prior to entering, entering into contracts. Not, like, we will have contracts, that's our procurement stuff, and so we can, don't need that signed, but in order to get into that contract with ABC, whatever, we should have our director involved to sign that contract. So somehow being able to say new or new contracts or before, or I don't know, somehow to.
And then incorporate the procurement policy.
Well, let's,
in that
can we settle on some language, Jeff? What would your recommendation be?
My recommendation would be, at the very beginning, with the exception of CMHC's procurement policy,
Excellent.
authorizing the executive director to sign contracts, or with the exception of written authorization from the board, but sometimes the board will vote on something and say, yes, we authorize the executive director to sign this contract. So I put those two exceptions out in front, because otherwise it's already been approved by the board, we've already agreed to it. Then the president with approval, and that would, I'd have no problem with how it's written. The president with approval shall sign all of those, because especially deeds. But if we put just in the very beginning, with the exception of CMHC's procurement policy, which we've already changed, or written authorization from the board, which would come from a resolution where everybody agrees on, then everything else is the president. So I think that would cover us, and it meets all of the intent.
So the language is with the exception of the procurement policy or written authorization of the board,
Yes.
the president. Can we agree on that language?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Jeff.
Anything else, Jeff, that you noticed?
There was just one minor, at the very bottom. It was under 3.5, agenda. It says request that the executive place items. I'm pretty sure the director was left off, and that was of the previous one too. So I think it meant executive director, not executive.
Which page, Jeff?
10 out of 12.
So we page 9.
9, 10.
Under, paragraph 3.5, order of business and agenda, 3.5.1.
On page 10,
Is that page?
That's for us.
Yeah.
Ours is on 10.
The executive, okay. That must have been a mistake from previous editions, but we'll add that.
Okay.
This director, right, before
Yep.
place items.
Yep. Yep, good catch.
Other than that, no, everything else, I agree. I think the term limits is a good idea. And hopefully that the commissioners are staggered too. That what you don't want is the city council having to appoint 3 people at one time, because that can be burdensome on them. And that was the whole intent, to have, staggered successions where we don't have vacancies all in 1 year. It'll be maybe once every year or once every other year.
And I think Public Act 18 addresses that too, Jeff. I think it says that they should be 5.
Well, we have a problem right now.
Yeah.
Because, well, except
We have no commissioner coming off the board in 2024, and we have 2 commissioners coming off the board in 2028.
me, who else?
so Jeff, I'll be getting with you on that, probably too, to help us try and figure out how to make that right with the city and the city council. If
And I
I'm not
have
sure
talked
how
to Bill
I'm not
Gamble.
sure how to fix that, because it was actually when the mayor appointed them. That's the term she appointed. So they're not staggered anymore.
I think it would have to come back before them.
So we'll work on that.
The city's in agreement, they want a staggered one a year also.
And that's only for the initial, when it was first established. So when it was first established, that intent was so the city council wouldn't have to appoint 5 new board members in 1 year. That's why it was staggered. So after that, the way the Housing Facilities Act is just the city council will appoint it for 5 years. So I'm not seeing the staggered once it's already been appointed, but I could be wrong. The city council can do, we appoint, I've seen it where it's up to commissioners only 2 years, 3 years, 4 years for their first term, so they don't have this problem. But that's just, but yeah, I'll get with Lori, you'll get with me and we'll talk about that and see if it should be changed. But the way that the proposed change to the bylaws, the term limits, I think is a great idea. And, I kind of wish that were in the public housing, was in the Housing Facilities Act, because it makes sense. You don't have to have, somebody could be sitting on the board for 20 years. And I think we saw that previously with this housing commission.
The one thing I wanted to point out is I added other commission duties, so it's clear that in the bylaws that appointment to this board automatically appoints you to the Riverside Board or other entities as necessary to engage in other projects. So
we have a motion on the
well,
floor.
I think we need to amend that motion to include the corrections that we just made.
Yes.
Okay.
A second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
That's a
Roll call.
Roll call.
Yep. Commissioner Goodman.
Yes.
Commissioner Smith.
Yes.
President Fosdick.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, what's next? Presentation and discussion, there are none, I don't think. Or did you have a dance routine, Lori?
No.
Okay.
No, she said that was my turn to do that.
Reports and communications, operations manager, executive director.
So I guess I'll start, and then Lori can follow up. So the smoking areas, they seem to be working. So I've not seen anybody on the corners, out in the streets, since we did the designation.
I have not either.
No, so I think that was.
There are a few, but it's definitely not like it used to be.
It's not the congestion that it was. And then it was hard to see today, but the site work is finishing up. I see the landscapers are there today. The paving, I think the only paving left to do is that little strip in front of Century Terrace along the street where there was on-street parking, but it looks pretty good.
Are they going to try to get to that yet this fall?
Yeah, oh yeah, yep. And Kevin probably could, I think he's going to be here for the work session, so he might fill us in on that. Wanted to talk about, we talked about budget stuff, so the Finance Committee, I'd like to start having some meetings in November so we can start working on our budgets and bring it back for approval at the December meeting.
Okay.
So just so you know, that'll be coming out. So what we like to do is have a budget input worksheet that has that expanded general ledger so you can see all of the expenses, not just one lump sum. It'll be total, but you'll see how we arrive at that total. So you'll see all the salaries from all the staff, all the benefits, all the small details that aren't in this financial report.
Good.
So, we received an eviction on the 12th Street house, not an eviction, but a judgment, a voluntary judgment. So I think that is November 1st. So just so you know. And Steve brought this to our attention, and Laura, we need to do an RFP for auditors. So I'd like to bring that back at least by the January meeting so they can get that on their schedule. Because, you know, last year we got in trouble. We didn't have an auditor engaged. And
I would like to have our annual audit done by June 30th so we can
Absolutely. There's no question. And then I think Lori wants to talk about the DV houses. We have some issues there where we've done some miscalculating of utility allowances, and I think we owe tenants some rebates.
Yeah, so Jesse Thalen from Mish, I've been working with him to clean the program up. So when we meet next month, hopefully we'll have things where they need to be, and I'll have some, exact numbers on if we did owe some of the residents back because we were not giving them the utility allowances. So Jesse and I are working on cleaning that up. Also, like the max rent on one of the units is $399 for a 3-bedroom. And that's with utilities included. So I asked him if we could go back, because you can raise those rents 2% every year. And so I asked him if I could go back and raise those, so he is going to let me, so that we can get that up, so that we can get a voucher, so that the residents will still pay 30% of their income for rent. But then we can get a Section 8 voucher to supplement the difference between, well, in this case, it'd be the $399 and whatever the tenant's 30% of their income is, but I'm trying to get those, and they're all 3 bedrooms, so I told Jesse, can't we get them all to the same amount? They're all similar homes, 3-bedroom units. So I'm trying to get those rents increased, the max we can charge, so that we can get vouchers in there to help stabilize the program. And he did talk to me about our reserve accounts, which he said we were supposed to have restricted reserves. Sometimes MISTA holds those, and then you request to dip into the reserves from them. They did not hold ours. We have our own, which you can use those funds. Currently, I think we're supposed to have $82,000 in the reserves if we had not spent any of that, but we have. So for the whole program, we have right around $65,000, including all of our reserves.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions on the financials, the DV financials. I mean, we're talking about 3 houses,
Yeah.
no mortgage or forgivable mortgage,
No, there's a mortgage with MISTA for the amount of assistance that was
but
given.
it says forgivable. At what point in time is it forgiven?
I have I have the exact year. I think it's 47,
Yeah, I think it was a
2047.
50-year mortgage.
It's right here, Mark.
And we're making payments on that
No,
mortgage?
no,
Okay.
there's no, it's only to secure the interest, so we can't dispose of the property and MISTA lose their proceeds. But the program was set up, there was money in this domestic violence grant program to buy the house, rehab the house, and then set a replacement reserve aside. And you're eligible to use that replacement reserve on capital needs. It should have been our goal not to use those. We should have had a revenue stream. So we always encourage tenants to bring vouchers back. We had the rents high enough so they would bring a voucher to the program, so it helped our revenue side, because we're charging management expenses to that program.
Well,
too.
and that was going to be my point, is that we're in the red on those 3 houses, and it's not worth the commissions to even, we might as well sell them.
We need to get the revenue up. Yep. Yeah, and we're still digging through the documentation to figure this all out, too.
Okay.
Oh, about selling them, that's a good point, and we could talk about this at our work session, too. MISTA prefers that if we decide to get out of the program, that we offer it to another entity to continue the program. And then they would entertain selling them if there were no interest from another nonprofit.
So the mission and the affordable housing continues.
Yeah.
Well, I have no problem keeping them as long as it's profitable for the commission.
Well, it's got to be a break-even proposition at least. That's up to us to build that program too.
Because I think it's a very worthwhile thing.
Yep.
Did you have any more?
No,
'Cause I have
no.
resident, okay, I wanted to mention the resident council. We did have our resident council election yesterday, so we have a board now. So Deborah Kaiser is the president, and Carla Plonsky is vice president. Danette Durga is secretary, William Hall is treasurer, and we have 5 board members.
Congratulations.
Great.
Yeah, we had 28 residents show up to the election to vote. So we'll have our first official resident council meeting in November.
Good luck with that.
Excellent. Good job, Lori.
I did meet with Alex Overhouse from Consumers. He had to come. We are getting approximately, it's over $30,000 that Jonathan Nesberg had applied for when they were doing the improvements, the LED light improvements. So Consumers will be sending that check. So while he was there, I did talk to him about mini splits in the units. And he did say that all the units at Century Terrace would qualify for an incentive rebate if we are interested in installing mini splits. Harborview is a boiler system, so that's gas heat. But over at Century Terrace, I will be bringing to you more information about if you guys would like to look into mini splits. Now, when Reed City Housing acquired their mini splits, there was a great incentive, and it was 100% of the cost.
That's coming again.
So if we can get under that, I'll definitely bring that to you and see if you're interested in, and that way everyone would have the air conditioning too. Right now we have they have the units that they have to have in their living room windows and take out in the winter, and so the mini splits would be very nice.
I checked on that yesterday. The state of Michigan fully plans on having it enacted and funded by October of 2024. And that is the HERA grants that are part of the Inflation Reduction Act. And it's up to $14,000 per household if they're 80% or less of median income, which would cover everyone we have. So we would have the ability to do $14,000 for heat pump type hot water heaters or heat pump AC, HVAC, or mini splits. So that is coming again.
Yeah, the only other thing I have is I'm still trying to schedule unit inspections to get in every unit. So Kevin and I are still trying to schedule that.
Just out of curiosity, your units all come renewals. What do they call that?
Annual.
Annual recertifications.
Right, recertifications. When the recert is due, why don't you, at that point in time, do their annual inspection so you don't have to do them all at once?
I mean, that's something we can look into, but I
Because
prefer
trying to
just
do
to, because I
200
wear jeans that day and a sweatshirt, and we just start at 8 in the morning, and we just go unit to unit to unit, and
That would, you couldn't get it done in a day, can you?
well, we'll schedule them a couple days.
Okay. I just thought that it would be easier. The recert, you get to go in and bring the recert, have them sign it, and do your inspection at the same time.
I think you're doing a lot of catch-up right now, too. Yeah.
Right, but that's something maybe down the road we can look
Okay.
at, but for now, I'll probably just schedule them all and just do it.
I hated to do 5 in a day or a month. I don't know how you could like to do 200.
There's one last thing, and you're going to see this coming to you, because we need to revise the admissions and continued occupancy policy. It's called the ACOP in our business. And there's some new legislation out there that changes some income limits for eligibility. So right now you have to be under 80% of area median income. It's called HOTMA, Housing Opportunities Through Modernization Act. So when you qualify either program, you're in. if you meet the definitions. We never had to worry about you going over income. Now, if a tenant goes over 120% of median income, they have 2 years to move out. We have to put that in our plan, just so you know. That's going to be coming back. It's a minor, not really going to affect too many people, but it could.
So they mandatorily have to move out within 2 years?
2 years.
And this is public housing.
Public housing.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's just some different legislation that was adopted, and we have to incorporate that into our operational procedures.
Okay.
Okay?
Is that it?
Yep.
Well, what about the Ross Service Coordinator grant?
That's on the agenda, right?
Yep.
Are we to that now?
Yep.
Okay. So yes, I would like to apply for this.
Oh, it is.
Chief Communications.
I'm taking it out of order.
So, yeah, do you want to go ahead and talk about?
Oh, Commissioner reports and concerns were,
Okay. Where do you want to go, Steve?
Let's go to the Ross thing.
okay.
Okay. So, yes, the applications are due by December 18th. So, if you would like me to, I would like to go ahead and prepare a grant application and bring it back to you for approval.
Now, I do know that the county has a grant writer. I don't know how active he is. I know my wife has done grants.
So Lori, my question is, eligible applicants who were awarded a Ross grant in 2019 or 18, who were not awarded a Ross grant in 2020. So we are eligible, okay.
Now, is this
And
just for-
multifamily owners. So we could actually, I may bring back 2 applications, one for public housing and one for the multifamily PBRA program.
That says previously served by a Ross grant, multifamily owners previously served by a Ross grant.
Oh, so we can't apply for it for
Well, that's
Century
what
Terrace?
that's what it's looking
I'll
like.
find out for sure.
Okay. How long does this go for? Is this just a 1-year grant? Or is it continuing?
This is the only paper that I've received so far, so I need to click on the links and download the whole packet and start working on it, Steve.
Because I see where they're, where did I see it? Up to, I think it was $800,000 or $900,000.
Yeah, 816,000, so it's got to be a multi-year.
Because I don't know anyone that would want to come into that and not know whether they had a job at the end of the year.
Right.
And this is with full fringe benefits and everything, right?
Yeah.
Correct, up to 80,000 for each coordinator salary and fringe benefits per year.
I think we go for it. I think we need that. It's kind of like a dead mother. Take a lot of burden off you. Or might add burden because they might side with the tenant and tell you you're, you need to reevaluate, but I think this is really good.
Okay, then I will be bringing you back more information on it.
Okay, the draw memorandum, I think we went through that already, didn't we? Unless, Karen, do you have any questions on that? This just shows
Nope.
the process that Commonwealth has to go through to get a draw.
Nope. I don't have questions.
Okay, commissioner reports and comments.
Nothing from me.
The only thing I have is congratulations, Deb. I thought she might be here today, but looking forward to the resident council. And Jim's indisposed right now. Vacancy report.
Yeah. Now that Carla's on board, you're gonna see that going down, but, yeah, it actually went up from last month.
And it's pretty much Century Terrace, right?
Yes.
All Century Terrace.
I know we've discussed things about the bed bugs and the roaches. And is a lot of that activity recurring? In other words, we treat an apartment and the next month the same
Well, we do
apartment.
have, so when Rose comes, there's a technician and the supervisor coming. So I'm meeting with them weekly to make sure that we're doing everything we can. And then I'm working with Kevin. He's anytime a resident's scheduled for a treatment, Kevin will inspect the unit the day ahead of time to make sure that there's not any clutter, that the apartment's in a good condition to be able to be treated. So we're really beefing it up, and we're gonna get where we need to be with the pest.
Well,
So that's not why that's not why the units are vacant. We did hire a temporary person through the temp program to help process applications, but she was off for the last couple weeks. So actually she's back today and working on applications right now. So it's mainly, we do have applications to process. We just have to get the applications through the screening process so that we can get these occupied. I don't think it's gonna be a problem occupying these units. It's just another thing where so much time playing catch up that we have to process applications, do interviews, do leases, but we will get there.
but going back to the bed bugs, are these repeat offenders, repeat the same apartments month after month?
There might be one or two that we're working with other agencies to help make sure that if they're not physically capable of cleaning their units and getting ready, working with agencies and make sure that some of them do have workers or like Spectrum that come in to help. So we are reaching out to the agencies to educate them on exactly what needs done so that when the residents are treated, it's an effective treatment.
Because I want them gone. And if we have a repeat offender, and they can't do it themselves and they're relying on other people to do it for them, we either have to say, you either do it or you find someplace else to live.
Yeah.
I mean, the first time is not a problem. The second time is, we gotta talk about this. And the third time at the same apartment should be expulsion.
So our pest treatment contract is up for renewal. So I will be meeting with the salesman and we are going to strategize and, work with, because I agree we need to be done with these pests. And I promise you I'm doing everything within my power to get there.
I just was
it's a battle.
contacted over on, it's a battle, it's everywhere. I was contracted by somebody on the east side of the state. Like, what are you doing? What do you have? We are just overwhelmed with it. So it's everywhere. This is the time of year as well. So I think we're much, much better than what we used to be. So you've done a great job so far, and it's really showing. Those that have Spectrum, please let me know as well. I can come from another angle to get that taken care of.
Okay. Jim, did you have any comments?
No. Other than thanks to the staff for riding the ship in a positive direction, and the signing checks is a seamless process. Everything's prepared and ready to go. So thank you very much.
Ginny, I forgot to ask you, are you still on?
I am here. I'm not sure if I'm going to make the work session. I might come back in. I've got to get on the road. Again, I appreciate the staff. Amazing stuff that's happening. I've had the pleasure of talking with Lori a few times about, some of the stuff going on. And I'm so happy we have Carla coming on. And, the teamwork with everyone, our commissioners, Jeff, the staff, everyone. We are making a difference in people's lives, and I really commend everyone's efforts. I know it's not been easy, and we're going to have a really good end of the year report. So thanks, everybody. And if I can log back in, I will, but I might be getting on the road.
Okay. Now we come down to the newsletter.
I think the residents like getting the newsletter.
It's nice. Information.
I don't know where you find the time to put that out.
Yeah, sometimes it's dark out when I've delivered it on a Friday at 7:30 one night before I left town. Yeah, I think it's important to get to the, to get this out to the residents. We did do a smoking cessation class yesterday.
Excellent.
Did you have many people
At the resident
attend?
council meeting. So it worked out good because actually there were 28 people at it because they all came to vote. So that worked out good. And then we are doing the diabetes prevention program meeting next week through the health department's Gracie from the health department's putting that on. So yeah, we did have one person sign up for the smoking cessation class that she wants to continue. So, we'll keep putting that information in the newsletter, and anyone that, that wants to do that smoking cessation, yeah, the health department will help them.
Good. Anything else? Public comment. Any members of the public here want to make any comments? Okay, next regular commission meeting is Thursday, November 16th at 9 a.m. We are going to adjourn this meeting and go immediately into a work session, maybe a little break in between. For our capital improvement plan we're going to start talking about for scattered sites. So it is open to the public. If y'all want to attend, you're more than welcome. For right now, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn the regular meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Take about 5 minutes and